The problem we have, out of all the things that you mentioned, the grid issues, the electrical grid, the water basins, are they problematic? Could they be? Yeah, they could be. But the bottom line is cyber is probably one of the deadliest threats we face today as a national security risk, because you have Russia, you have China, you have El Salvador, Iran, North Korea. These are all, they all have their elements out there that are trying to attack the U.S. without doing it publicly. And how do you do that? You get into the banking systems. You get into systems like this. They could do a lot of damage, and that's what we have to worry about.
And here's what's interesting. Kai, can you pull up that tweet that I sent you? This is pretty insane to be thinking about how ridiculous this is getting. Here's U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission. Do not fill plastic bags with gasoline.
Yeah. Plastic bags.
Plastic bags with gasoline. What do you mean? Do you even have to tweet about the fact that the only reason they're tweeting that is why? Because someone's
Dude, maybe they think it's a water balloon or something.
Hey, let me go fill up plastic. How do you even fill up plastic bags?
This is what irrational actors are thinking about when they hear that there's a gas shortage and they don't own one of the big red buckets because homeboy over there just bought 10,000 of them and put them in his truck, and now your only option is I gotta go fill up a garbage bag versus gasoline, and you're freaking out. Like you said, they're uninformed and they're just acting.
So here's what we have to realize. This is the largest U.S. pipeline. Number one, largest U.S. fuel pipeline. Okay, DarkSide hackers took 100 gigabyte of data they stole. Okay, they have a double extortion scheme. There's a ransom they want here in return. If you go look up who DarkSide hackers are, they operate on the dark web. It's not political. They flat out tell you, we are not political. We don't lean on the left or the right or anywhere. We simply just want money. On their website, they tell you which companies they've attacked, which companies they've hacked, what they've gotten on their website, clearly. And they say they have a very value-based principle. They don't go after funeral homes. They don't go after insurance company. They don't go after companies that take care of elderly. They're such...
Oh, what nice
people.
What nice
They're principled thieves.
Principled thieves. They're principle-based hackers. And Biden came out and said, look, this has nothing to do with Russia, meaning the government. It has something to do with the people that are hacking are from Russia, but we don't know if they're linked to Russia or not. Obviously, gas prices went up the highest in 7 years. But if you really think about it, here's what you got to be thinking about. So go and think about what COVID did to us for 12 months. How much did COVID cost us? I was talking to Noam Chomsky, and he said such an interesting thing. He said, look what Osama bin Laden did to U.S. He said, Osama bin Laden, during Bush and Obama, he got the U.S. government, his goal was to make U.S. government go bankrupt chasing this guy. U.S. spent $3.6 trillion just to catch this guy. He says, what human being in the world has ever been worth $3.6 trillion? The most expensive human being ever in the world was Osama bin Laden. Think about that. The most expensive human being in the world was Osama bin Laden. That's how much U.S. spent to go capture this guy, right? $3.6 trillion. So now, you come back and you look at something like this. How much did COVID cost U.S.? How much did COVID cost?
$5 trillion plus.
So far, in excess of $5.
In excess
I'd
of $5 trillion.
To $6.
Okay, $5 to $6 trillion. Forget about the printing money, all this stuff. $5 to $6 trillion, right? And now things are coming back that, Fauci was part of a funded project. I don't know if you saw that or not, that they helped out with China years ago, and now they're kind of wanting to remove their names. But on the bottom of it, this lady who did this report, on the bottom, she says that this research was funded by, I think it's NIH, which Fauci's name is on that. Now Fauci's coming back and saying we had nothing to do with this, and they're saying how reckless this could have been because the virus could have come out, et cetera, et cetera. What does this have to do with COVID and Fauci? Here's what it has to do with it. The threats, you know how they say, what is that one line? If wars were fought in, the next World War III will be fought with what? Sticks and bones, sticks and...
with words?
No.
Sticks and stones?
Sticks and stones, meaning it's going to be the end of the world. They're going to fight. I don't think that's going to be the case. if you actually think about what the next wars are going to be, the toughest things about the next war is you don't know who's doing it. There is no fingerprints today. It's tough to find the fingerprints today. How do you go back and see who's behind this thing here? How do you not know these were people who are working on the inside with the Russian government that are doing this? How do you not know that this is funded? You don't know that stuff. The paper trail to find a lot of stuff is tough today. You don't know. But
why? Because it's done online?
The hackers, they can find ways to eliminate their IP so you don't know where it's coming from. And these guys are becoming so good at what they're doing today.
You know, this reminds me of the Cali cartel back in the 80s, 90s, right? For everything that...
Is that Pablo Escobar and those guys?
Pablo Escobar, those guys. For every element that we put together to attack them, to go after their networks, to, kill their groups, everything we did, and so think of it like this. You can't wiretap a cell phone, right? This is back in the 80s. Coming out of the 80s, going into the 90s, we figured out how to get up on the phones. So they went to pagers. Then we figured out how to get on the pagers. They take one step, we have to follow it up with 2 or 3 to catch up.
How long does that take to catch up, by the way?
It depends on what it is, but it takes a while.
Okay.
It's not immediate. They're thinking, the criminal element is this, they're constantly thinking of ways to circumvent the law, circumvent law enforcement. And every time they do that, we have to come up with a way to combat it. In this stuff is like Star Wars, realistically. And today, there are kids out there, 15-year-old kids, that are in high schools, that in my town, for example, in Bergen County, New Jersey, there are kids in high schools that, get visits from the FBI and the Secret Service because they just happen to tap into, Michelle Obama's bank account.
Just for shits and giggles, buddy. Just to tell their friends, look what I did. Just to play, they're playing a game. Yep.
They're playing a game. But that's the intelligence level of some of these kids today. And what happens? Then they go into the private sectors. They go into government sectors. They go into criminal sectors. And they go out there and do this stuff. So the genius of our younger generation when it comes to this is incredible. And it's frightening.
Who's more creative? Who's more creative? CIA, FBI, DEA, or criminals? Who is more creative?
The criminals are more creative because they're there first. They get there first, right? So they have to be creative. They already know what we have the ability to do.
Yeah.
So they have to get creative to circumvent that. But I will tell you this. When the FBI has a problem or the CIA has a problem, they can't really figure it out, who do they go to?
Boom.
They go to the criminals, right? They get their informants. They get their sources. They bring in people that can get the job done. And sometimes it's
like in the classic movie Catch Me If You Can, Frank Abagnale.
That's
I mean, the
exactly
guy.
what I was thinking about.
All right, we can't figure this guy out. Let's bring him in.
Get him.
Right.
Let's go get him. And now he's like one of the more outspoken people out there talking about money laundering and washing money and not using debit cards and credit cards.
Roosevelt went to Joseph Kennedy, because he's like, listen, man, the way you can manipulate the stock market, I have to find out what you're doing to find the next criminals.
Yeah.
right.
And that's how the whole SEC got started back in the days. They have to find out how would you manipulate the market today? How would you mess with the market today? But these hackers, they're not driven by the same things that others are driven by. They're not driven by money. They're driven by,
Some are driven by money.
It's not all of them, though.
But not all of them.
Yeah, some of them are driven by revenge. They're driven by, you said, what did you say? Watch what I'm going to do.
Or it's a game. You don't think I can do this?
I'll
show you.
Exactly.
It's a game. It's political. It's revenge. It's it's financial.
At least these DarkSide guys, whoever these guys are, they're flat out saying, look, man, we're just great at what we do. We want money. That's all we care about. You give us
at
money.
least they're being full disclosure.
Sure. It's a very one-dimensional relationship. We're very good at what we do. We're going to make your life a living hell. Just give us the money. We'll leave you alone. So
it's crazy what these young kids could do. I think it was like a 15-year-old kid that hacked into Twitter or something like that and started tweeting under Jack Dorsey or whatever the ridiculous story was like that.
You know what's scary is you look at some of the dark side hackers. Who were they hacking? They're hacking police departments. They're hacking police departments. They're hacking government agencies. They're going to police departments and saying,
What's their outcome?
well, money. They want paid. We're gonna shut down your city's ability to get payments for city electric, utilities. We're gonna shut that down. We want $100,000 in Bitcoin, and we want it by 12 p.m. today. And if you don't do it, we're shutting that ability down. So they look at it like this. The city looks at it like this. One, we're not going to grab them. We're not going to catch them. We may catch them later on down the line, but we ain't getting them no time soon to stop this. And two, if they shut our ability down to collect utility payments from city residents, it's going to cost us $5 million over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. Give them the $100,000.
Oh, so they'll negotiate with terrorists and pay them, is what you're saying?
Oh, no,
Cyber
they pay.
terrorists.
The cities pay. Cities
Really?
are paid, yeah.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.